What's up, everybody? I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I know that I am. And today we're actually working on the Nissan. So we've got a problem where it has a misfire and it's not quite running right. So I hooked the code reader up to it last night, cleared the code, see what would come back, and if, of course, we still have a misfire. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and do some diagnosing. Now I'm working on the 2012 Nissan Sentra, but for most of your modern cars that have coilovers, or not coilovers, coil packs over your spark plugs, and I'll show you what those look like, this is going to be kind of the same process. So it'll help you diagnose your misfiring, if you're having a misfire issue, or if you've got a bad coil, or if you got bad spark plugs, or if your wiring is bad. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to hop right into it. I'll show you what we're dealing with and ways to diagnose it. Well, first things first, I will show you what I'm talking about. So we'll go ahead and actually put the key in the ignition, and we'll go ahead and start the car. You guys can't really tell, but it's shaking pretty good. RPMs aren't jumping as bad as they were when we didn't have the codes cleared. But now that they're cleared, it's definitely not as bad. But you can hear it when we rev the engine. And we'll go ahead and pop the hood. And you can visibly see that the motor is shaking quite a bit. So, yes, it shakes a little bit, but usually it's not that bad. So we'll go ahead, we'll throw the scanner on it and see if it's still acting up. Now, since I cleared the codes on this, our check engine light actually is not on right now, which is a good thing, but it still has a misfire. So we'll go ahead and check it out. Now, while it's I don't know, I have a hard time saying it's not worth your while to have a code reader with you, but in this case, it's very, very important to have a code reader for you to tell you which cylinder is misfiring. Now, you don't have to have a fancy one, because you'll get a standard P0300 or 301, 302, 303, 304, and that'll just tell you that it's got a misfire. I think 300 is a random misfire, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 cylinders up to like 8 or whatever you have. So it's not necessary, but I'm gonna say it's pretty necessary, because that way you can pinpoint down which cylinder is having problems. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna scan the whole car, see what one has problems, and then we'll go to that one in the engine and switch it with something else. Switch it with the number 1 cylinder. So maybe we'll switch the coil packs over between the 4 and 1. We'll switch it and see if the misfire follows the coil pack or if it stays with that cylinder. If it stays with that cylinder, then that means it's probably a spark plug or wiring. And then next we'll change the spark plug over. We'll put the coil pack back, put the spark plug over to 1, and then see if that changes. And if it follows if the misfire code follows the spark plug, that means the spark plug's bad. So if it goes from 4 misfire and 4, we change the spark plug to number 1, then it has misfires in number 1 and not in 4, that means you've got a bad spark plug. And vice versa for your coil packs. So we're just chasing down and we're moving the misfire to another cylinder in hopes to find what is at fault. So 9 times out of 10 it's your spark plugs, but with these coil packs it's kind of hard because they also like to go out. Now if you don't have a code reader, your local auto parts will have code readers, but that you can use for free. Usually they'll come out and scan your car for you, but you can't really, you're working on your car in a parking lot. They make some pretty cheap units that will tell you standard codes. Some cars will even tell you codes on the dash if you look up if you can read codes without a scan tool. Just type in your car, year, and then code reader without scan codes without code readers, something along those lines. Sometimes you'll get lucky and things will pop up. A lot of times it's just easiest, if you're gonna be working on your cars a lot, just buy a cheap little code reader. They're not that expensive and they'll help you diagnose things a lot faster than not. So you can do it without, but you can't pinpoint exactly which cylinder's having problems very easily. So get a code reader. Get a buddy with a code reader, something like that. Well, there we go. We've got cylinder 4 misfire, and it's multiple cylinder misfire. That's interesting. That multiple is probably caused by this evap, small leak. So we've got a leak somewhere that we gotta find. Interesting. So, but cylinder 4 misfire. So let's go ahead and we will clear that. Now that everything's cleared, we can go ahead and work on the engine and see if we can swap that cylinder 4 misfire to cylinder 1. So turn this off so we don't get a code, and then go ahead in the engine bay and deal with the engine bay. Now on most cars, this is usually a pretty easy process where you can get to your coil pack, and then you can see your coil packs right here. That goes down to your spark plug, and this is your the control for your igniter. So usually it's pretty easy. On this car, it's a pain because we have to take this off, which entails taking all the bolts off the front. There's a bolt back there, there's a bolt back there. We got to take the throttle body off, the hose. We just got to take a lot of stuff off to swap that over to number 1. We can get to number 4, but we can't get to number 1. Number 1's hiding on this side right here. So we've got a little bit of work to do, get this off, and then swap those coils over. Might start with spark plugs, and then go from there. Well, I've gone through and swapped the spark plugs, put everything back together, and it didn't change. We are still on cylinder 4 misfire. So now, let's take the stupid thing back off again and switch the igniters over to number 1 and number 4. Swap those around. Hopefully that's it. So this should be what you're mostly seeing. So I've gone ahead and I've swapped this. This is your igniter coil. Gone ahead and swapped this out. This is the number 4 one, which number 4 was having cylinder misfire issues. So we swapped the spark plug over first. No dice, still cylinder 4 having problems. So now we swap the igniter over to number 1, and hopefully the misfire will follow to cylinder number 1. So that's what you're looking for. These just unplug, and then your igniter will come out. Let's see if we can get one. So that just unplugs. Your igniter comes out, looks somewhat like that. They all look a little different. And then you're not gonna be able to see, but your spark plug's down in that hole. So go ahead, we'll put this back in here. And it has bolts on it, so we'll bolt it down. Make sure that everything's clipped in since we're down here. And we'll put the bolts back in it. And try it again. Hopefully our misfire goes to number 1. Now we know that that igniter is bad. Look at that, we get cylinder 1 misfire, so we got a bad ignition coil. Spark plugs are fine, but the ignition coil is wrong. Not reading right, I don't know what it's doing, but it's misfiring. And I still have my small evap leak. I don't know what that's about, but that's cool. So now we know we need to order coils for this car. Well, we still have a fault code, but that's a good thing. We know where the fault code is now. We moved the spark plug over from 4 to 1, nothing. We moved the ignition coil over from 4 to 1. Misfire moved from number 4 to number 1. So our ignition coil is bad. Gonna get one ordered and replace it and go from there. So if you guys are having troubles with ignitions or misfiring stuff, start with those. Those are simple steps. You can eliminate the wiring, you can eliminate spark plugs, and you can eliminate your ignition coils. Real easy. Just by doing those, just swapping a couple around. You need a code reader to look at things and kind of determine where it's at and where it's misfiring. But you can move it around and see that way. Look through the data collector and check things out through the code reader, data collector, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully that helps you out. If it does, please leave a like on this video. If you're having troubles with something, let me know in the comments. If you have another tip or solution or another way of looking at it, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Always okay with learning more. So I'm gonna get out of here and order some parts, get them ready for this car so that it can be back up and running nice and smooth. So I'm gonna get out of here. It's getting late, and I'm gonna go to bed. You take it easy, everyone. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.